The Evolution of Logos. Episode 1, Cars. Starting off with Toyota, who began with a completely different logo than they have today. Their second design came from a competition where the winner was a red circle with katakana inscribed inside it. After their first few designs, their logos became very simple with nothing but font changes made in between. Until 1989, where they finally got their iconic oval. The design is shaped like a steering wheel and is made up of all the letters that appear in the company's name. Next up, it won't shock you to see that Mercedes and Benz started off as two separate companies. In 1909, Mercedes introduced the iconic three-pointed star, which 15 years later joined with Benz's floral pattern to make the logo we see here. It has changed slightly over time, losing its details, but the classic design has remained ever since. Today, it's considered to be the most recognized car logo in the world, and is used by Mercedes-Benz as a symbol of luxury and quality. Initially making aircraft engines, Rapp Motor later renamed themselves to
Bayerische Motorenwerke,
the Bavarian Engine Works Company. A sign of their Bavarian origin is present in the logo today with a little blue and white checkered flag that has continuously remained in its center. Since then, BMW has stuck to this original design with a few modifications along the way, such as this logo in 2014 designed for electric cars. Lamborghini's first logo is nothing like we know now. Thankfully, they swapped it out, and in its place we got the iconic bull. The bull has undergone several changes over the years, starting off in a beautiful deep red before later evolving into a luxurious gold color. There was a brief period where the logo simplified to black and white before it eventually returned to gold in its current iteration. Lamborghini's main rival, on the other hand, Ferrari, has had a consistent logo since their beginning, except for a small stint after leaving Alfa Romeo where they were banned from using their own name. Apart from that, the black horse on a yellow field has hardly changed over the years. And why would it? It's perfect. Now we move across the pond to America's very own Ford. Their logo started off much bolder than it currently is, until 1909, where its iconic cursive look was first seen. After this, Ford changed its background several times, from simple ovals to cool wing designs. As the years have passed, their logos have slightly differed. When shiny logos were popular, Ford's logo was shiny. When 3D logos were in, it was 3D. And now that minimalist design is everywhere, their logo matches that style. Another American company, Chevrolet, started off as simple handwriting, until co-founder Durant was inspired by the wallpaper in his French hotel room to create the bow tie design. The logo has constantly changed since it was first introduced all the way back in 1914. Then, in the 2000s, Chevy finally settled on a prestigious gold color to represent the brand's stature. The Jeep was made for war. Developed by three different companies, Bantam, Willys and Ford, its bold design has been consistent across its entire history. For a car made for anything, this style makes a lot of sense, and as you'd expect, it has not strayed much from it over the years. Now back to sports cars. Porsche's logo developed from the coat of arms of Württemberg and Stuttgart in Germany. They combined to give us the red, black and gold emblem we all know and love. The logo hasn't changed much since it was first seen all the way back in the 1950s. Another German brand, Audi, didn't start off with its iconic rings but just simple text, which was then placed inside a triangle motif. In 1929, the Great Depression hit, and to survive, Audi was forced to join with three other companies, forming Auto Union. This is where the four rings came from. Audi was the forefront of the company, and so its name stuck. In the 60s, Audi was bought by Volkswagen, who later merged it with the manufacturer NSU. The rings, which were a mainstay of Audi's cars, came in and out of use within the logo itself. And in the modern day, Audi has simplified them to solid black. Volkswagen, the people's car, has a classic logo with a sour history. Sadly, it originally represented awful things, but VW quickly moved away from this, and since then their logo has perfectly mirrored each decade it's been in. With the pastels of the 40s, the colourful logos of the 70s, the 3D design of the 2000s, and finally culminating in the minimalist look of today. The most recent iteration is the most simple, thinner than all previous logos and designed for the digital era. Now let's move across to Asia. Mazda's first few logos were very unique, resembling the metal cutters in their factories. For a short while, they then adopted Mitsubishi's three-diamond design. In 1951, inspired by Hiroshima's emblem, they created this. In the early 50s, they introduced an elongated M, and 4 decades later they ditched it for a couple of diamond icons. Mazda continued to experiment with their designs, probably more than any company on this list. Eventually, the iconic Twingdom logo finally appeared, and apart from slight color changes, it hasn't really changed since. 3 diamonds and 3 oak leaves combined to create Mitsubishi's logo. A union of founder Yotaro Osaki's family emblem and the 3-leaf crest of the Tosa clan, Yotaro's first employer. Nissan's logo has gone full circle. Its original badge design was shortly used, with quite a few detours made during the company's long history, from unique rectangles to handwritten fonts and everything else in between. At the end of the same decade, they reintroduced their iconic badge, and this time it came to stay. Another Japanese great, Honda, started off quite thick. It then slimmed down and eventually the company's name was added to its branding. Unusual for most logos, Honda's design gained more details over time, ending with a red and silver finish in the 2000s. Suzuki started off with an amazingly unique design. The eagles were sadly removed, but in their place we got the beautiful red and blue colors present today. Korea is another Asian hub for large car manufacturers. Founded in 1947, Hyundai's logo began with the initials HD, representing the company through various iterations. In 1990, they dropped the D and adopted their current logo, which is said to depict 2 people shaking hands. The logo has undergone several updates over the years, with the most recent one focusing on refining the colors of the design. Kia began very differently, from various polygons in its first logo to a simple circular design. Finally, their name appeared in a familiar bold look as Kia produced their first ever car, the Brisa. The classic red color showed up a few years later and was very recently replaced by the futuristic design the company has now. Subaru is represented by the Pleiades constellation, the Japanese word for unite, symbolizing how these sister stars are united in the night sky. Subaru hasn't strayed from this design, only changing colors and style choices over time. Now let's move to Britain with the Swallow Sidecar Company. Yes, Jaguar started off making sidecars. They then adopted the Big Cat as their namesake and haven't looked back since.
And it's okay because he's got it, yeah.
There's only one car with enough prestige for Agent 007, Aston Martin. The premium brand hasn't strayed much from its first design change, where the initial circle logo was exchanged for a pair of metallic wings with the company's name etched inside of them. The wings represent the speed and status that the car gives its owners. The logo has evolved quite well, with the most recent edition looking as prestigious as ever. Another British classic, Mini, started off being produced in the Morris Motors aircraft factory. This is why the logo is shaped like a propeller. After the logo simplified in the late 60s, Mini decided to scrap it for several decades, until they thankfully returned to it in the 2000s. 17 years later, they flattened it, turning it into one of the simplified logos that are common today. McLaren's first logo represented their racing origins. The Formula 1 giant then removed all details except the kiwi for their New Zealand founder. The logo then gained the triple racing flag with arrows representing tyre tracks. Part of this design was then kept in a late alteration which then got rounder. This speed mark, as they call it, has been a part of McLaren's logo since. The luxury manufacturer Rolls-Royce started off with the traditional 4-piece coat of arms. Elements of it, including the Spirit of Ecstasy, were then used in all future designs, with some versions of the figure going for over $200,000. However, the double R representing the company's founders stuck as the main motif, improving in design over time. Another off-road elite, Land Rover, has had an all-caps, bold logo much like America's counterpart, the Jeep. The zigzag that appeared in the first design has partly remained in each iteration, with only the color of the logo slightly changing. That's all for this time, but don't worry, there'll be more cars in part 2. Until then, check out these other videos. Thank you for watching.